Bienvenidos, fans of the hottest entertainment on the planet. I mean, Fuego here. This is a Rapido Fuego review, a little Easter special, because I just got out of a great awakening. And yes, this is a faith-based film, I guess, but also kind of a United States patriotic film coming from Sight and Sound. So they started out making, I guess, doing stage productions and stuff, but now they have veered into filmmaking. And so happy Hippotus Topitus, beat up the Easter Bunny Day, if you're Jay and Silent Bob, or, Zombie Jesus. I've heard everything, but, I always celebrated it growing up as, the way I always presumed it to be within its roots of, the actual resurrection of, Christ and, beginning of Christianity and everything like that. So this film is about the friendship between these two guys. So you recognize Benjamin Franklin there. That is the gentleman whose name I had heard, the younger fella there, passingly, as I was raised Reformed Baptist and everything, George Whitefield. And so he is portrayed, as he was at the time, as kind of this almost rock star preacher with this booming voice from his time, initially in theater and then going to Oxford and being converted, essentially, the likes of John Wesley and other names that I heard when I was growing up. And so I'm an agnostic now. I am not a practicing Christian, and I am also a registered independent, so maybe not of the super patriotic. I'm not here to discuss major politics or anything of that nature or the current state of this country. One thing that the film does intriguingly make very apparent is the fact that at the time when this takes place, because it starts out in 1787 when they were kind of trying to draft the Constitution 4 years after the end of the Revolutionary War, and it jumps back in time and shows the friendship between these two. You see a little bit of Ben Franklin's backstory as a child, but it's much more so the adolescence and then, young adulthood of George Whitefield and how his conversion comes about and how he just kind of honed his skills and how he upped his esteem after the Church of England kicked him out. One thing that I will say, that even though I'm not a Christian, that I still have a very deep understanding from my father being a Bible teacher and everything, and until I was 18, being a part of the church and everything. And so I'm always intrigued how it's going to be portrayed, if it's going to be accessible for a more general audience or if it's very niche, in their approach. And the acting is very, very strong in this between the two of them. Especially there is a debate of faith in the back half of it, because Ben is more of like, I'm agnostic, which I can relate to. I acknowledge a higher power, but I don't, go to church. I don't, I make of Jesus, in his message, he's going to make me a lot of money when I print it at my printing press and everything. George Whitefield, on the other hand, very earnest. There's almost like, it's like, when does earnesty become being overwrought? When is being well-intentioned? When does that become overzealous and overstepping your boundaries and stuff? It's definitely not going to be for everybody, but it was a very fascinating film and high production value. So I don't know if the subject intrigues you, give it a chance.